In the quiet village of Ijijia, where life was simple and dreams were small, a girl was born into a world that would test her strength. Her name was Joan. She was born into love. Her mother cherished her deeply, holding her close every night and whispering prayers over her tiny body. Though they were poor, their home was rich with laughter. Joan knew peace. She knew warmth. She knew love. But then tragedy came. One day, sickness entered their home. Joan's mother fell ill and never recovered. The woman who was her world was gone. The house became quiet. The laughter disappeared. Joan waited every day for her mother to return, but she never did. Not long after, her father married another woman. Her name was Mama Pauli. At first, she smiled, but her heart was cold. Mama Pauli turned Joan into a servant. While others rested, Joan worked. While others ate, Joan watched. If she made a mistake, she was beaten. If she cried, she was punished. Yet, she never complained. She suffered in silence. Every night, she whispered the same words, "God, please help me. I cannot do this alone." But destiny was already preparing a miracle. The suffering she endured was forging her into a person of incredible strength, a strength she didn't yet know she possessed. Years passed, and Joan grew up under Mama Pauli's cruel hand. Every day was a battle for survival. The other children in the village went to school, their laughter echoing in the streets as they learned to read and write. But for Joan, the only lessons were in hardship. She learned how to carry heavy buckets of water until her arms ached, how to cook for a family that never thanked her, and how to scrub floors until her knees were raw. Her hands, once soft, became calloused and rough. Her spirit, once bright, was dimmed by exhaustion and loneliness. Her father, blinded by his new wife, or perhaps too weak to intervene, seemed not to notice her pain. He saw a quiet, obedient daughter, not the broken child who wept herself to sleep each night. Joan found small moments of escape. She would sneak away to the riverbank, the same place her mother used to take her. There, she would talk to the water, telling it the secrets she couldn't share with anyone else. She told it about her dreams of a life where she was loved, where she could go to school, where she could just be a child. She missed her mother's gentle touch and her warm smile more than anything. The memory of that love was a tiny ember. She kept alive in her heart a flicker of hope in the overwhelming darkness. She would often recall her mother's words, "My dear Joan, you are stronger than you think." Those words became her mantra, a silent chant that gave her the courage to face another day. One evening, as Joan was finishing her chores, a traveling merchant passed through Ijijia. He was an old, kind-faced man named Mr. Aid. He stopped for a drink of water and saw Joan, a small girl with old eyes, diligently working while her step-siblings played nearby. He saw the weariness in her posture and the hidden sadness in her face. He offered her a small piece of candy, and for the first time in a long time, someone showed her a simple act of kindness. A tear escaped her eye, a tear she quickly wiped away. The old man just nodded gently, a look of understanding in his eyes. He didn't say much, but his silent compassion planted a new seed in Joan's heart. It was a seed of possibility, a hint that the world beyond her village might hold something different, something better. That night, Joan's prayer changed. Instead of just asking for help, she started asking for a way out. She prayed for courage, not just to endure, but to change her fate. She didn't know how, and she didn't know when, but the encounter with the kind merchant had sparked a fire within her. The quiet girl who suffered in silence was beginning to find her voice, even if it was only a whisper in the dark. She started to save tiny scraps of food, hiding them away. She began listening more intently to the conversations of travelers passing through, learning about the world outside Egypt. A plan, fragile and uncertain, started to form in her mind. It was a dangerous idea, one that could lead to even greater punishment if she were caught. But the hope for freedom was becoming stronger than the fear of staying. The abuse from Mama Pauli escalated. As Joan grew into a young woman, her stepmother's jealousy grew with her. Mama Pauli saw Joan's quiet resilience not as a virtue, but as a challenge to her authority. The beatings became more frequent, the words more venomous. "You are worthless," Mama Pauli would hiss, "just like your mother." Those words were meant to break her, but they had the opposite effect. They ignited a fierce resolve in Joan. She would prove them wrong. She would not let her mother's memory be tarnished. She would not be worthless. The pain was no longer just something to be endured. It became fuel. It sharpened her mind and hardened her will. One day, while fetching water, she overheard two women gossiping about a scholarship program for bright, underprivileged children in the city. It was a long shot, a nearly impossible dream. She couldn't read or write, and she had no one to help her. But the word scholarship echoed in her mind. It represented everything she yearned for: education, opportunity, escape. She sought out the village elder, a wise old woman who had always been kinder than most. Trembling, Joan told her everything: the abuse, the loneliness, and her desperate dream to go to school. The elder listened patiently, her eyes full of sorrow and admiration. She saw the fire in Joan's spirit, the same fire she had seen in Joan's mother years ago. The elder agreed to help in secret. Every night, after her exhausting chores, Joan would sneak to the elder's hut. By the faint light of a kerosene lamp, she began her education. The elder taught her the alphabet, then how to form words, then sentences. It was slow, painstaking work. Her hands, so used to hard labor, struggled to hold the pencil. Her mind, so used to focusing on survival, struggled to grasp abstract concepts. But Joan's determination was unyielding. Every letter she learned was a step toward freedom. Every word she wrote was a weapon against the darkness that had surrounded her for so long. She studied with a ferocity born of desperation and hope. She knew this was her only chance. Meanwhile, Mama Pauli grew suspicious of Joan's late-night disappearances. She began to watch her more closely, setting traps and trying to catch her. The risk grew with each passing day. Joan had to be more careful, more clever. She learned to cover her tracks, to move like a shadow in the night. The fear of being discovered was a constant, terrifying pressure, but it also made her sharper, more resourceful. She was no longer just a victim. She was a survivor fighting for her future. The application deadline for the scholarship was approaching. With the elder's guidance, Joan painstakingly filled out the forms, her own story of hardship and her dream for a better life pouring onto the page. She wrote about her mother, her love for learning, and her unwavering belief that she was destined for more than a life of servitude. The day she sent the application was the most hopeful and terrifying day of her life. She gave the sealed envelope to Mr. Aid, the kind merchant who had returned to the village and promised to mail it for her in the city. Now, all she could do was wait. Weeks turned into a month, then two. The silence was deafening. Hope began to wane, and despair threatened to creep back in. Mama Pauli's cruelty seemed to intensify, as if she could sense Joan Nessie's secret rebellion. Joan began to wonder if it had all been a foolish dream. Had she dared to hope for too much? Was she destined to remain in Ijijija, trapped forever? Just as she was about to give up, a letter arrived. It was addressed to her. Her heart pounded in her chest as she opened it with trembling hands. She had been accepted, a full scholarship. Her miracle had arrived, but this was only the beginning of her journey. The girl who rose from pain was about to face her biggest challenge yet. leaving everything she knew behind to step into a new world alone. Thank you for watching. Follow for part 2 to see what happens next.